So I am live. Great thing is I can edit this later. So where do I want to be? Right here. All right. So yeah, there were a couple people that weren't able to be here and let me know about that ahead of time. And so then I said, okay, well, I'll videotape the thing. And yes, we've gone through all this other stuff, which is really important, but it doesn't have to do with statistics. Or anyway, so we'll make this work. All right. So what we're going to do is for the next half an hour or so, we're going to work on looking through the syllabus and the schedule for the course so that you kind of know what's involved with that. The idea here is that everything's out there on Blackboard, so that if you want to know anything, you can go to Blackboard and find it. And if you haven't been to Blackboard, you need to go there. But I will show you those things, and you can have some ideas about what's available. So here we are on Blackboard. We need to go back here. So if we go to Blackboard and we start with the course, it has the announcement, the information that I sent out to you already. But let's take a look then at the syllabus. And a couple of things which are important here. If you want to get in touch with me, you can send an email. I might not be able to get back with you on email right away, because it might take a while for it to get through and it might take a while for me to have a situation where I can respond. Generally, if you need to get in touch with me urgently, you can either call or text me on my cell phone. So my cell phone number is out there. And if I'm in a movie or something else like that, I won't maybe respond right away. But if it's urgent and you really need to know a response, like you forgot to post this thing, Mr. Powers, please post it, then stuff like that. I would like to know about that right away. And if there's any kind of an issue with your computer or something like that, then maybe I can help you, maybe not, but at least if I know there's something going wrong, then that will at least help you. My office is in this building, Coleman 211, just down the hall. And I do have office hours available 3 to 4 o'clock after this class. I plan to stay around for another hour and then help people as necessary. So here we are in the room and we're doing introductory statistics. And you may not know very much about these things, and that's okay. That's what we're doing. There are prerequisites to this. But a lot of that has to do with what we talked about before, just academic maturity. If you're able to take notes, refer back to them, and do your homework regularly, then you'll probably be okay with regards to most things. If you've been through college math, then you'll have some introductory ideas for some of the topics that we'll be covering. And some of you have had other statistics type courses in the past, and that's great, and that'll help you. And now the textbook. The textbook is actually an access code which you need to purchase. You will need to be able to get into the textbook publisher site in order to do your homework. Now, when we take a look at that on Blackboard, if you go to where it says assignments, you'll see where it says publisher site. If you click on that link, it takes you here. This is McGraw-Hill Connect Math. These are the people that provide the software for all the homework. There's this next part here. It has a course code, which you'll need to put in. And I just checked before class, about 10 people have already signed up, which is great. But that means we have like 23 who still have yet to sign up. And the first homework assignment is due on Thursday. So it's pretty important for you to get that going. If you have not yet purchased your access code, you can still get temporary access by using this thing right here, the financial aid access code. And what that will do is give you temporary access for 2 weeks. And then you can go ahead and work on the homework and everything. And then during that 2-week period of time, you'll need to buy the access code in order to get into what we have. So again, it's an electronic textbook that's connected with software, which allows you to do the homework. Now, if I click on that link and it takes me out here and I log in, then I go to this course, and in the upper right-hand corner where it has this thing right here, it's the ebook. And if I click on the ebook, then that's where the electronic copy of the textbook is. We will not have everything from the textbook in the course. So if you read through the textbook, it might have a lot of stuff in there, but we don't cover all of those things. So it is important, though, to see the examples of how different things work in the textbook. It's important for you to go through that and take a look at it. But when it comes time to focusing your attention, then if you go to the resources section of Blackboard, and you go down here to where it says notes, where I had the keys to preparation, you will have then all of the notes. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them. So what's going to happen today is we're going to go through these notes for chapter 1. And then next time we'll be going through notes for chapter 2. So this will give you a basic look at the things that we'll be doing. Not everything that we do in class is necessarily in the notes, but most of it is. And the notes are here so that if you miss a definition or something in class, it's not a problem because it's out there on Blackboard. So then, when we go back to the syllabus here, we then have learner supplies, a scientific calculator. A scientific calculator is one that's able to do exponents. You must have a scientific calculator in order to do the work. There are some people who say, I can do all of that on my phone. And unfortunately, the answer is no, because you can't use your phone during a test. This is not the kind of a course where you're going to use your computer or use your phone during the test. So you have to have a scientific calculator. Some people, for whatever reason, just don't do this, and it makes life harder for them. If you really need one and you can't get one, I'll give you one. I've got extras just sitting around my office. So if you need one, I can give you one. But if you want to have one and you say, oh, this is my own, well, then you can purchase one for about 10 bucks. But if you have a situation where you're like, I can't get one, well, then come to me and I'll give you one. But it is very important that you have one so that you can learn how to use it, because different calculators have different buttons. So when we get to certain higher level stuff and I say, okay, you need to look up the binomial coefficient on your calculator, you need to know how that works. And so that means you need to have your own calculator. All right. Now, here are the course competencies where we're talking about different things, and we'll work on those later. What counts for credit? We have the tests. We have participation. Participation is basically attendance, and then homework. If you are not going to be in class and you tell me ahead of time, that's an excused absence. Okay? So if something happens and you're like, I'm not going to be in class, let me know, and it's excused. That's it. All right? I don't need the note from the doctor or the lawyer or the police or anybody else. Okay? Just you say, oh, I'm not going to be there. Okay. Generally, this is the progression of someone who has trouble in this class. They stop doing their homework, then they stop coming to class, and then they stop taking the tests. So if you want to maintain through the entire course, you have to do your homework and you have to do it on time. And then you have to come to class. And then you can take the test. All right? Grading scale, of course. Now, we'll talk about the test first. If you take your paper out of a spiral notebook to take a test, please take the furry edge off the thing, please. If you're taking a test and you have a problem and you do problem number 1 and you do a bunch of stuff, please leave a space before you put problem number 2, okay? Don't cram everything together in order to save the trees or whatever your motivation is. Okay, leave a little bit of space so I can know where number 1 stops and number 2 starts. In most situations, you need to show some work in order for credit to be given. If I have numbers 7, 10, 13, and what's that? And 14. And I say, what's the average? Do not simply give me the answer. I want to know how you got the answer. So if you say, oh, well, that's 17, 30, 44 divided by 4 is equal to 11. So I know where you got this number from. Now you look at that and you say, oh, well, that's so simple. Yes, it is. But I'm hoping that it will get you into the exercise of saying, the teacher wants to know where this comes from. Now you don't, if I have something like 76 divided by 11, you don't have to go like 76 divided by 11. No, you can just put that on your calculator. But I want to know what you put into your calculator in order to get the answers that you get. And there's some negotiation with that, but the basic idea is I want to see your thinking process by having you write things down, not just what the answer is. Please do not use your cell phones during an exam. Please do not make calls during the exam or receive calls during an exam. Yes, I've had people in the middle of an exam just get up, walk out, and start talking to the phone on the phone outside of class. And I had one person one time whose relative was in the hospital, and they said, I've got a relative in the hospital. Can I have my phone with me? And I'm like, why don't you just take the test a different time? No, I want to take the test right now, but I have a relative in the hospital. No, let's not do that. Okay, if there's a crisis and something's not going to work and you have to have your phone with you, let's just do it a different time. Okay? If you're going to take a test, you need to take the test and then deal with interruptions. If you know something's going to be a problem, let me know. We can make arrangements. When you take a test, you can, if you get below 70% on an exam, it is possible for you to retake that exam, and then the maximum you can get on the test is 70%. And that would be a situation where you just show up and you're sick or something, and you're like, oh, I'm sick, but I still want to take the test. Or you got no sleep or whatever else. Or I've been working for 48 hours straight, but I still want to take the test. Okay, well, you did, and you did not do well. If, 2 weeks later, you're like, oh, wow, I wish I could take that over again. You can, But if you're at a point where you don't know anything about what's on the test and you don't understand it at all, then maybe retaking it is not going to help you, okay? You need to actually learn the material in order to take the test. And if there's a problem, then that would need to be fixed. I've had a number of people who have said, I want to retake that test. Okay, you got a 56 last time, then you get a 50 the next time. It's not going to help you. Just retaking is not the answer. Even though it's there, if you need it, you do need to actually learn the material before you retake the test. If it's a situation where you are repeating this course, then you should not repeat previous behavior. And that's just generally true. There is a 30% deduction on the homework if it's late, but homework is flexible, okay? If there's some reason why you can't get it done in time, just let me know. I can change the due date. Let's say you had trouble with your computer and you put something in and it didn't work and your computer crashed and you couldn't get it done in time. Just let me know. I'll fix it. Let's say you after you do the homework, you say, oh, well, I tried this and I put in the wrong number and it just didn't seem to work, and I explained it to you in class and you're like, oh, I understand it now. I can go in and fix your homework. I can change your score. Okay? So I don't want you to think that homework is something that has to be a certain way. It's flexible. But at the same time, in order for you to know what we're doing in class, in order for you to do well on the test, you have to keep up with the homework. If you're late occasionally, that's not a big deal. But if you're always late and you don't know how to do the homework, then that's an indication of a bigger problem. So then we would need to work on it. There are times in which I would maybe not be on time with my stuff, okay? I'm supposed to grade your tests and hand them back to you. And if there's some delay and or something's happening, you're like, well, you haven't updated those grades yet. Please let me know so that I can try to keep up with those things. So I'm flexible with your dates, and sometimes I'm flexible with mine. So we'll try to work that out. As I said before, students are expected to take notes and to be able to refer back to them. Note-taking and review of our notes are very important. Now, asking questions of students during class. I have had trouble with this in the past because I would not call on people in class and they would feel like they were being kind of excluded from the class. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to push anybody outside and say, well, you're not worthy of participating. So that means I'm going to ask you try to ask everybody questions. And if you don't want to answer for any reason, you just say pass. And that's fine. My goal is that everybody participates in the class. But for some people, that means just listening. And I understand that, and it's not a deal breaker, okay? If you say pass every time I ask you, that's okay. But if you're saying pass every time I ask you because you don't know anything about what's going on, that's a problem. But you can say pass for any reason at any time. And then sometimes it might be to your advantage if you say, I don't know the answer. Because then I can say, oh, all right, so you don't know the answer. So is there something about this? Can you tell me what's not clear about the situation here? Because if you say, I don't know how to do this, that's where learning happens. If you just sit back and you say, I know everything, I'm not impressed because you don't actually know everything. I don't. And so then when you come to class and you say, I don't know how to do this, that's good because then you can learn how to do it. That's what's supposed to happen. Don't eat your meals in class. If you have liquids, they should be in enclosed containers. I just don't want you to knock over your coffee and have it destroy somebody's computer or something. Set your devices to silent mode. Okay, if we have a nice rendition of, I don't know, BTS or something during the class, and it's like, oh, hey, wow, that's great. No, that's your cell phone going off. Oh, sorry. So just, if you can just make your devices so they don't make noise, that'd be great. And it's normally not a problem. I don't normally have people just sitting in class texting the whole time. If you're one of those people and that happens, the natural consequence is you'll probably not be successful. So that's up to you. Now this one's hard. Some of you know each other pretty well and you love to chatter. Maybe. So if you really want to talk to somebody else during class, just write them a little note, okay, and hand it over to them. And you can say, oh, well, that's really funny. But what I'd prefer not to have is people just kind of, because all that tells me is you're too rude to stop and you're not intelligent enough to know that everybody can hear you. Because even though your voice is really soft, it's still bothersome and annoying. So don't do that. Okay, write a note. You could write, 2 pages of a description of your trip to the Dells and hand it over to your friend and they can read it. As long as it doesn't bother me, okay, maybe I can handle that. Oh, and if you decide to come visit the instructor during office hours, then maybe you can get a couple of extra points. Yay. Then there's college guidelines, academic integrity, and other stuff. Withdrawal policy. If you do have some kind of learning disability or something like that, you can go to the Welcome Center and they can work out accommodations for you. That'll be helpful. All right. Then I have a little bit of a schedule here, but we'll talk more about that in detail. Question?
Did you get any extra points for signing into the Math Center at all?
Psychological points, yes. Now you may not be aware of this. I don't know what your experiences are. Some of you have not been in academics very long. Some of you have probably been around it your whole life. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, if your teacher knows that you're trying really hard to get a good grade, your teacher generally is going to be more inclined to give you a good grade. So, yeah, that can be all to the good if you're going to a class or, getting help for the Math Center. If I talk to Julia and Julia says, oh, this person has been in here all the time and getting all kinds of help and asking all kinds of questions, I don't say, oh, well, they should get a D. I don't. I just say, oh, wow, I better pay attention when I get to the end of the term, maybe give them a little bit of help, extra help. But it's all psychological, right? So yeah, maybe that answers your question. Now, at the end of the syllabus here, I do have, with the different exams, I have a list of competencies that we had at the beginning. So when we get to the exams, then I'll be talking more about what those things actually mean, but that is out there on the syllabus for you to be aware of what's going on. All right, other questions at all about anything on the syllabus so far? Okay, so going back here to, where did I click on that? I don't know. But the schedule then has a list of the stuff. Assignment number 1 is due on Thursday, and this is in the online homework. It's 4 multiple choice questions. It's very easy. So we'll talk about stuff in a few minutes about how that's going to happen. Notice it says assignment is due on Thursday. I am not assigning it on Thursday. I am assigning it now. It is due on Thursday. Okay, and if there's a problem or question, just email me and I will figure it out. All right. So we're going to take just a couple more minutes, I think, and look at some of the other resources that are out here. Question?
When are the assignments due? Like before class?
They are due, yes. Specifically 12:50 or 12:40, right? 40?
30.
30. Thank you. Yes, good. Thank you. They're due at 12:30. Yes, in the afternoon, the day of class. Now, there's a reason for that. Why do I set them at 12:30 the day of class? Because there have been too many times when I've been walking into my class and I pass about 6 people who are sitting in the computer lab working on their assignment because it was due right when class started. And so then they don't come to class because they're working on their homework. And then all of a sudden they get up and they rush into class at the last minute because they just finished their homework. So I'm like, I'm going to give you 10 minutes that you have to do that before you walk into class, because human nature, a lot of people wait till the last minute to do their stuff. If that's a problem and you say, I can't function that way, that won't work for me, I'll change it. That's fine. I don't care. I really don't care that much. When you learn a thing, I care a lot more that you learn it. Okay? So if there's ever a question or a problem with any due date, just let me know. I'll change it. I don't care. But if you just never do your homework, that's bad. So that's why I have due dates. Okay. Question.
So on the homework, I just kind of was like confused because when you went to like click on like ask for help or like explain it to me, it walks you through the answer instead of just helping you. It gives you the answer.
Yes.
And then it gives you a new question, but it actually gives you the answer. And I guess I was just kind of confused.
Right. Okay, sure. That's a great question. So let's go there. If I preview my assignment here, then Adobe Flash Player is blocked. Well, what do? I go up here where the little thing here has a lock on it. I click on the lock and it says Flash is blocked. Well, I don't want that. I want to allow it. So I click allow, and now it's going to work. So if you have trouble with Adobe Flash, then you check your browser settings and you can fix that, and it'll work. Okay. Now, when you do this, you will have different options. You will have the option to solve it. What that will do, it will go through and solve the problem for you. And then it will go back and change the problem a little bit so that you have to do it yourself. Okay? Guided solution, it'll go step by step and it'll require you to put in the steps for the process as you go, so that it kind of helps you go through the steps, right? In that situation, it will also go through that and then it'll go back and do a new version of the question. So if you've been working on a question for a long time, later on, if you have like a question with multiple parts, you probably don't want to hit these buttons, because then it'll make you start the question all over again. But if you hit show example, it shows you a problem with like different numbers. And it shows you how to go through it step by step. And then you can do your problem step by step, hopefully. The reason why I include these in here is because I want you to have these examples and learn from them. Unfortunately, what happens to some people is that they say, oh, my goal in this class is to get a good grade on my homework. So I'm just going to click on these things every time, and it'll just show me how to do it, and I'll just do my homework that way. And then they go to the test, and they fail it because they don't actually know how to do the problem. So what has to happen is you have to have a certain amount of academic maturity that you're going to say, I'm going to try this problem myself before I hit these buttons. I'm going to try to learn how to do the thing, and then I'm going to hit these buttons if I need them. But I'm actually going to go through and try it first. So then when you do that, and then you can have the examples and you can go through the examples, you can learn how to make it happen. If you have a problem and you can't figure it out and you want to ask your instructor, you hit this button and it'll generate an email that I will see, and I will have your exact question to look at. If you hit link to the textbook, it takes you to the electronic version of the textbook. If you need tables or formulas, you click here and it gives you tables or formulas. So, yes, we have entered a different world when we talk about online learning, okay? There are people who have learned a lot of things by watching YouTube videos. There are also people who have tried to do things from YouTube videos, but they realize that you can't actually know how to do a thing unless you actually try to do it yourself. You cannot become a world-class piano player by watching YouTube videos. You can watch them, you could learn from them some things, but you can't actually know until you try to do it yourself. Same thing is true here. The only way you're going to learn how to do particular kinds of problems is by actually doing them yourself. If you rely too much on these examples, then when you get to the actual test, you won't know how to do it. With that in mind, also, if we go to resources here, there are practice tests with the questions and the answers. So that if you take a look at this and you say, okay, what's test one going to look like? It's going to look like this. How am I going to know how to do these problems? Well, if you go to the answers, that would show you the answers. But you still need to understand the process of how these things work. So for every test that's out there, you have practice tests with answers. And again, the concept here is I want to give you the resources to allow you to be able to do the thing. But you have to actually work through them in order to know if you understand it or not. And again, for some of you, you've already seen some of this stuff in earlier classes. So the first part of this class might be really easy. It might be very easy for you the first couple of weeks, but then it won't be, just so you know. All right, so does that answer your question about the homework?
Yeah, I think I was like clicking on guided solutions, but I think all of them are pretty pleasant because we're in finals week right now.
Okay, yeah, well, that's, yeah, well, that's reasonable. Okay, so what else? If you have problems, I'm looking at the tabs here, okay? We went through the assignment tab. There are a couple of other assignments that are out here. Contact information. There are various offices here at Western. If you need help with various things, you can click on that stuff. And then here's my contact information down at the bottom. Your grades, I'm going to try to be polite when I say this. Your grades will not be on Blackboard, generally. They will be on the textbook publisher site. It might be possible that I figure out how to get them from one place to the other, okay? I've worked on it in the past and I was not successful. I'll try again. But what I want you to be able to do is if you have questions about your grade is you go to the textbook publisher site and it's all there, okay? So if you're used to going to Blackboard for your grades all the time, that might not work unless I figure out how to make it work. But it will always be on the textbook publisher site. Okay. Resources here. Community resources. If you have trouble with legal things, transportation, food, housing, parenting, employment, medical, there's all kinds of community resources out there. Now, a number of people in this class are in the social work area, so you need to be familiar with all this stuff for your own benefit, but for also the benefit of people around you. So hopefully you can click on this and learn a bunch of stuff. Course information, I have a couple of things here. Course rules, basically be nice to each other. Excellence for students. If you want to know how to get an A, you can read this. It'll tell you how to get an A. The grading rubric, which I already talked about, showing your work. And then how to succeed in math, might look familiar. It has negative emotions, which is kind of a brick wall, which we already talked about earlier. So that's what there is. Okay, resources. Important formulas and tables. As it turns out, after about week 6 or 7, people say, well, where are all these formulas and tables? They're right here. Notes. I mentioned this already. All or many of the notes for this class are in the notes, so that you can have that as a resource. There are some online resources in the textbook publisher site. If you go there and you click on resources, they actually have videos for different parts of different kinds of questions. So if you say, I want a video of how to do a problem, if you go to the textbook publisher site, it's probably got a video to how to do the problem. But they also have other stuff out there if you want it. And then if you want, Cliff's Notes has a good site. Khan Academy is a good site. Practice tests, which you already dealt with. The skills list, this will become important to us when it comes time for the test. I'll be saying, I want you to know these skills. Pictures for test review. We had a situation toward the end where we had, I filled up the board with notes and somebody said, can I take a picture of that? And I said, sure. So then I had 2 other people and myself take pictures, and that's where that is. Math support at Western, I'm going to put the hours for the Math Center in there. Hopefully. All right. Other questions out there about anything? Yes.
So on the publisher site, it
Yes.
says tests are due at 12:30, the day they're due.
Oh, and that doesn't really count. Okay, the tests are actually just going to be done during class. I don't know why I said 12:30. Any other questions about anything? Yes.
So if we do the practice test and like are pretty competent in like doing those, should we be okay for the actual test, or is that just an idea of what's on the test?
No. The answer is the practice test is just about exactly what the real test is going to be like. Few minor differences. Okay. Now, as an educator, sometimes I feel bad about that. It's like I'm just kind of giving it away. But then on the other side, it's hard enough so that by the time I give it away, you'll pretty much have to be pretty smart in order to be able to get it in the first place. So that's how that goes. Question?
If you start in the seminar, do you have to finish it like from when you started, or are you able to like stop and go back to it?
As far as I know, there is the capability of saving it. Let me try that here. If I go here and I preview an assignment, if I just do something, like this, check my answer. Incorrect, try again. Oh, forget it, close the window. All right, when I come back, oh, I thought it would save it for me. Well, maybe because I'm an instructor, it's not doing that. But my understanding is that it saves it as soon as you do it.
Yeah, you can hit save for later.
Oh, okay, I don't have that button, but it's on the regular one.
You can hit save for later.
All right. Oh, I know what I need to do. I would need to, where is that? Because there's a way that I can make this so that it's the student view. How do I do that? Jordan, you were saying something?
Oh, I was gonna say, can't you change it to student mode, like on your part?
Yeah, that's what I thought I could, so. Yeah, no. All right, I'll try to figure that out, but why shouldn't I be able to do that? If I'm here, if I go to Connect Math. Yeah. All right, I'll try to figure that out. Question?
So if you say like check answer and then it's wrong, can you go back and change it and it'll be right, or does it still count as right?
Pretty sure you can change it. Yeah, because let me see if I have this. If I go to gradebook, oh, you're in progress here. No, it'd be under assignments, wouldn't it? Oh, edit assignment. Yeah, unlimited attempts. All right. Any other questions? Okay, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. Going to come back at 1:56. And then when we get back, we'll talk about the actual stuff. And I'm going to try to pause the video here.